Greetings everyone, and welcome to another special Halloween Closer Look. Today we go to the far-flung future of 1997 in Detroit, where crime is running rampant, the police have been privatized and are unable to cope. So, after one police officer, Alex Murphy, is brutally gunned down in the line of duty, his near-dead remains are spirited off by the Omni Consumer Products Corporation, where he's turned into Robocop, the ultimate cyborg police officer to bring justice to old Detroit. Now, I've been a huge Robocop fan ever since the movie was in theaters. It was, in fact, the first R-rated movie I ever saw in theaters. I was 15 at the time. My friends and I basically just kept trying theaters until we found one that would let us in. You have to understand how R works in Canada. In Canada, it's not that you can go see an R-rated movie if you have an adult with you. No. In Canada, R is R. If you are under 18, you're not allowed in under any circumstances. So that's just the way it works. So anyway, found a theater that let us in, and loved it, and have loved it ever since. Not just for nostalgic purposes either. I mean, obviously there's a nostalgic element being my first R-rated movie in the theater, but just because it's a fantastic movie that really holds up well today. Now, of course, Robocop was a huge hit and spawned 2 sequels, 2 live-action TV series, and 2 animated series as well. So on today's Closer Look, we're going to see everything I've got on DVD and Blu-ray from the entire Robocop franchise. Well, strap into your 6000 SUX and get ready to roll. This is going to be a long one. Robocop, today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, some of you might be scratching your heads a little bit as to why I'm doing this as a Halloween Closer Look. I mean, is Robocop a horror movie? Not really. It's more dystopian sci-fi. But here's my reasoning. Hear me out on this. A lot of 80s sci-fi in particular kind of skirted the line a little bit, and while it would be, say, more sci-fi than horror, there were often horrific elements to them. And Robocop is certainly no exception to that, in particular because of the incredibly over-the-top and ridiculously gory violence in it. I mean, it wouldn't be right out of place in a horror movie. I mean, you got poor Mr. Kinney in the boardroom getting brutally gunned down by Ed 209 and diced into hamburger by the bullets all over the model of Delta City. You've got the incredibly prolonged and sadistic and brutal death of Alex Murphy. You've got poor Emile getting doused in toxic waste and immediately starts melting, only to get plowed into by Clarence and explode all over the windshield in a gooey mess. And then finally, you got the death of Clarence, getting spiked in the throat and then geysers of blood shooting out. Don't tell me that wouldn't be right out of place in a horror movie. Yeah. So, you saw a lot of that in 80s sci-fi movies, especially I think because R-rated sci-fi movies weren't uncommon back then. A lot of the action films of the era were very much a hard R. And, you know, you look at a lot of the action, just straight-up action movies, sometimes the villains in those are so sadistic. I mean, they're borderline exploitation horror villains, you know? So, yeah, I don't mind doing this one for Halloween because I think it's got a few elements that kind of fit right in with the spirit of the season. And it's not only that, but to take it a step further, Robocop is essentially a Frankenstein story, you know, where Frankenstein was mad doctor, reanimates dead tissue taken from corpses. Robocop is a corpse that is reanimated and turned into a cyborg. Frankenstein monster spends much of the story trying to figure out who he is and where he fits into the world. Robocop spends much of the story trying to figure out who he is and how he fits into the world. And on top of that, it's also got this kind of resurrection, redemption subtext to it as well, and coming to terms with who he is in this unfamiliar world. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, so Robocop is essentially a sci-fi take on many elements from Frankenstein, although a lot of people also consider Frankenstein to be the first sci-fi novel because of all the science-y elements to it. So you see, there's a lot of overlap between sci-fi and horror, and I think Robocop, the first one in particular, definitely rides that line in a lot of respects. Now that said, of course, it became less and less so with each successive incarnation of the character. We had a little bit of horror-y stuff in the second one, especially with all of the attempts to duplicate the Robocop process and the various horrifying results of that. But by the third one, he was just full-on superhero. We still had bits and pieces of the elements of him trying to find himself and figure out where he fit into the world, but really most of that is in the first movie. By the end of it, he's pretty much on the path to knowing who he is and, you know, how he's going to carry on from there. So all the subsequent iterations, like the TV shows and the cartoons, basically just play him as essentially a superhero. But we do get some of the familiar themes in there. You know, there's some of the social commentary and satire in the live-action incarnations. A little bit of that in the animated shows and such. But, yeah. Anyway, bottom line is, however you want to classify it, whatever shelf of your collection you want to put it on, Robocop is awesome, and I love it. So, we got quite a lot to cover today, so let's head on down to the black table and check out my entire Robocop DVD and Blu-ray collection. Okay, so let's start with the first movie and the various editions I have of it. So first up, we have this one, which is a bit of a collector's item now. This is actually the Criterion Collection's DVD edition of Robocop. Now, I actually had this edition on Laserdisc back in the day, and for the most part, this is the same as the Laserdisc. It's the same transfer and has the same commentary track. It does have a few more extras on it than were on the Laserdisc, though. I remember the Laserdisc being kind of lame for extras, to be perfectly honest. I was kind of surprised that they had so few. I mean, this is the Criterion Collection, for crying out loud. But anyway, let's take a look here. So, very nice. This is number 23 in the Criterion DVD collection. Yeah. They restarted their numbering when they went from Laserdisc to DVD. They did not restart the numbering when they went from DVD to Blu-ray, though. Blu-ray uses the same numbers as the DVDs. But, yeah, so this is quite early on in the Criterion DVD collection. So we crack it open here. Now, if you're wondering about the orange rim here, it's actually a special protective sort of pocket for the disc. It just, you know, it comes off. It's basically just to protect it, essentially, because it's a collector's item. But this was given to me as a gift by a longtime friend and fellow streamer and YouTuber Skinslip, who most of you will know from some of my other stuff, like Saturday Night Insanity and many a video game playthrough. So, not much in the way of a booklet this time. We just have a pamphlet, so we have our chapter index and stuff like that. Very short essay about the film, but, you know, nice to have. I remember when I got this on Laserdisc, I was really excited because I had heard through the grapevine many moons prior that there was an unrated cut of Robocop. I didn't think we'd ever see it. I just knew that they had to cut some of the gorier footage, some of the more intense footage, for the theatrical release to get an R rating. Otherwise, they were going to get stuck with an X rating, and that would have been suicide for the movie. So they cut that, but I never expected us to actually get to see the unrated cut. So when I found out that it had been released on Laserdisc, from the Criterion Collection no less, I snapped it up as soon as I could. So this is the same cut. The unrated director's cut, including excessively violent shots cut from the theatrical release to avoid an X rating. Well, I guess I could have just read that off the back, but yeah, so it was a real treat to finally be able to see these excessively violent shots. And actually, you know, it's not a huge difference in terms of running time between this and the theatrical version. I think it's less than a minute of difference, but boy, does it ever make a difference to those violent moments. The two big moments that really stand out are, of course, the death of Mr. Kinney in the boardroom at the hands of Ed 209 and the death of Murphy. So there's a few more shots of Murphy's death there, making it a little bit more prolonged, a little bit more agonizing. And then the death of Mr. Kinney, it was just kind of horrifying and uncomfortable in the theatrical cut. But in this one, Ed 209 just keeps blasting and blasting and blasting and blasting. And poor Mr. Kinney is just like blasted into hamburger on the model of Delta City. So it becomes comical, it becomes funnier through the excess of it. So it was great to finally be able to see that version. And I mean, that's the version that Paul Verhoeven always intended us to see. And honestly, the excessive violence helps the satire of it to come through with greater force, I think. And the moments that are supposed to be ludicrous are properly ludicrous and not cut down to be more horrifying. Thanks, MPAA, you dumbasses. Anyway, great audio commentary on here by director Paul Verhoeven, co-writer Edward Neumeier, executive producer John Davison, and Robocop expert Paul M. Salmon. That was a really interesting commentary, and that was one of the reasons I wanted the Criterion edition, was to make sure I had that commentary, because I'm not sure that it's actually been ported over to very many other releases. Then we have some film to storyboard comparisons, storyboards, an illustrated essay on the making of Robocop, theatrical and teaser trailers, and optimal image quality, RSDL dual layer edition. You can tell this is an early DVD where they're really hyping up the fact that it's a dual layer disc. When did this come out originally? This was 1998. DVD had been around for about a year. Yeah, on the main market anyway. The technology had been in development for a while, but... Alright, so moving on from the DVD era to the Blu-ray era, we have the Robocop Trilogy. Now, the initial Blu-ray release of Robocop, which came out in 2007, was generally not considered to be very good. It shared the cover of the 20th anniversary DVD edition Steelbook, which was quite nice, and yeah, that might have been a great transfer for a DVD, but it wasn't much of a good transfer for a Blu-ray. So, of course, having the same cover, you're expecting the same level of excellence. That was not so. So, this Robocop Trilogy set has the old 2007 Blu-ray, but it also has Robocop 2 and 3, which actually got brand new transfers at the time, and actually look pretty good on this set. Now, there is some artwork underneath, just the OCP logo and the Robocop Trilogy, and just credits for each of the 3 movies. Now, in terms of extras, there doesn't appear to be anything. Yeah, it's basically just the movies, and that's it. But, I mean, this was a cheap set, and at the time, it was actually the only way to get the sequels. So, obviously, I wanted to have all 3 of them. So, I grabbed this set, even though I knew that the version of Robocop on here, the first one, was not the best presentation. But it's kind of all we had at the time. So in case you're wondering, this particular Blu-ray edition came out in 2010, so it was 3 years after the initial release. Then, in 2013, we finally got a remaster of the original Robocop. So, of course, I was going to snap that one up. So this was the one to get. This is much, much better. It looks much crisper and sharper, and has all the lovely film grain intact, and really, the movie really shines in this edition. Plus, we got more extras than we've ever had before. So what do we got here? We have Flesh and Steel, the making of Robocop. Robocop, creating a legend. 1987 featurettes, shooting Robocop and making Robocop. The Boardroom, storyboard with commentary by animator Phil Tippett. That dude's a freaking legend. He's amazing. He did all the stop-motion animation for Ed 209 in this. Great stuff. Deleted scenes, villains of old Detroit, special effects then and now, commentary with director Paul Verhoeven, writer Ed Neumeier, and executive producer John Davison. Aha! So I think that actually is the old Criterion commentary on there. It's just sort of been making the rounds for a while. But what a wonderful upgrade to the old craptastic edition. So, yeah, when I found out they had a proper remaster of this, I absolutely had to jump on that. But then, not to be outdone, 6 years later in 2019, Arrow Video said, "Hold my beer," and gave us this absolute loaded Ultimate Edition of the original Robocop. This is the be-all, end-all of sets for the first Robocop. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let me just show you the back here. I just have it on here to show you what it looks with the J card. Let's take that off. Look at that beautiful OCP logo on the back. Very, very nice indeed. And then if we look at the spine, we have the logo there. And then inside, we have all these goodies. Yeah, all in a nice hard box. Yeah, gotta love the hard box sets, eh? So, just slide everything out here. So, as always, we do have a reversible cover for the keep case. So, of course, had to turn it around to the original poster art. I've always loved this poster art. It's so simple, but just, I don't know, just something about it is just beautiful to me. I used to have a poster of this, actually, that came with the vinyl soundtrack, but unfortunately, it went the way of the dodo during a move. I do still have the soundtrack on vinyl, but it's packed away, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd show it to you. But, yeah, really, really nice edition. Very classy, loaded with goodies. Let's take a look here at what all we have. So we got lobby cards. I'll just show you the discs here first. And there you go. So it's a 2-disc set. And this one, actually, you can see we have the hard box artwork there. This one actually does include both cuts as well. So we have the theatrical cut here, which actually hasn't been available for a very long time. Once the Criterion put out the unrated cut, it was pretty much the version you would see on home video all the time. So the theatrical cut has actually been unavailable for quite a while. So it's nice to have that there to compare. So if we slide all these out, of course we have a postcard here, Whitefire. They always put these postcards in to premiere upcoming releases. In fact, I first caught wind that there was an Arrow release of Robocop coming out when I picked up this, Alice Sweet Alice, which is one of my all-time favorite proto-slashers. This is a really good edition, by the way, if you're a fan of this movie. And inside, we had a postcard with this. Yeah, very nice indeed. So let's take a look here. So we'll just put this back in here. And we have some lobby cards to check out. So let's zoom in on these. Okay, so first up we have the aforementioned hapless Mr. Kinney about to get gunned into oblivion by Ed 209. And, oh, look at this. On the back we have this lovely alternate poster art. Very, very nice indeed. Okay, so it looks like it's the same poster art on the back of all of them, so I won't bother showing you all of the backs because they're the same. Then we have this wonderfully iconic shot. Gigantic shadow being cast on the wall as he's standing in front of the headlights of the car, about to stop an attempted rape in an alley there. That's a great shot. I love that. I just love how ridiculously over the top it is. And then here we find out the meaning of Directive 4. So he thinks he's got the drop on Dick Jones, but Dick Jones has a little surprise for our hero. And here we got Robo doing a little target practice with that fucking gun. Yeah. It's a great scene. And just another shot of Robo looking iconic. Yeah, great stuff. And the wonderful scene where he stops the convenience store robbery. Just annihilates this guy. Yeah, great stuff. That's when he bends his machine gun with one hand. And we also have this lovely little sticker. Warning, this property protected by Robocop. Of course, you know, collectors like us, we're never going to use this as a sticker. I'm just going to keep this as a little souvenir. So, very, very nice indeed. I usually just put them kind of together like that, slide them in, and close it up. There we go. Lovely. And what else do we have in here? Oh, well, hey, look, we have a booklet that has that poster art on it again. And there's the, clean version of the artwork. Very, very nice. So, wonderful book here, full of all kinds of goodies about the making of the movie. As you can see, quite a lot of contents here. Quite a robust book too. I mean, look how thick this thing is. It's fantastic. I love it. I've always found the books in the Arrow sets to be absolutely fascinating. Just such interesting essays. Get some behind the scenes photos there and all kinds of cool stuff. There we go. Yeah, this is beautiful, and I mean, this is obviously one of the big reasons to get the limited editions, because the limited edition Arrow releases versus the standard editions, very often the disc contents will be the same. Sometimes there's an exclusive disc you can only get in the limited edition, but the real reason to get it is for stuff like this, the book that they include with it. That's where the added value is, and it really is added value too. I mean, look how much stuff they've got in here. All kinds of behind the scenes photos, some of which I'd never seen before, actually, and I thought I'd dug pretty deep into the behind the scenes stuff with this film, but it's just wonderful, just an absolute treasure trove of stuff. I know I use that term a lot, but it really is true with these Arrow editions. They just go all out. Ah, the melting man, yes. Help me, help me. So there's your horror moment. It's horror. Sci-fi horror, anyway. At least elements of sci-fi horror. I mean, technically it's dystopian sci-fi, but whatever. There's elements of sci-fi horror in there. Lots of blood and guts. So. Oh, I forgot. This, yeah, actually, this also has, this is pretty cool. It tells you some of the most notorious changes of swear words for the TV version versus the theatrical cut. That's hilarious. What we got here, like, yeah, Lewis, come here when you finish fucking around with your subject. Lewis, come here when you finished playing around with your subject. Clarence's death uses alternate takes with no blood shooting out of his neck. Robocop pulling the iron spike out of his shoulder is also shown from a different angle. Dick's death uses alternate takes with bloodless squibs. The most notorious alternate footage, instead of Emile turning into a gooey mess on Clarence's windshield, Clarence instead drives around Emile, avoiding him completely. What the hell? Seriously? That's ridiculous. Oh, please tell me they include the TV version in this. I have to see this. I've seen the theatrical version and the unrated version so many times. I bought the theatrical version when it first came out on VHS. I couldn't wait to get it. And then of course the Laserdisc of the unrated edition, and then the DVDs. And next up, we of course have a ginormous fold-out poster. Let me just show you here. Kind of show it to you sideways because it's easier to get it all in the picture that way. But there's the new artwork for the box set, and then on the back, look at that, the original movie poster. Absolutely beautiful. I just love this artwork so much. This is actually a painting too. It's not a photo. It's at first glance you might think it's a photo, but it's actually a painting, and a freaking beautiful painting at that. It's just amazing. I love it. So, put all of this back together. Yeah, this Arrow set is obviously going to be the biggest part of this closer look, but somehow I don't think you'll all mind. It's pretty impressive. There we go. Okay, so let's just actually slide the case out here, and we'll do kind of a side-by-side theatrical art next to the new art. And let's go over the extras that are on this set. Oh boy, hold on to your hats, folks. Here we go. So on disc 1, on the director's cut, now first off, regarding the transfer, this is a 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative by MGM, transferred in 2013 and approved by director Paul Verhoeven. So it is, in fact, this transfer. So they did not do a new transfer for it. It's the 2013 one that was on this edition here. Newly commissioned artwork by Paul Schipper. That's this here. Director's cut and theatrical cut of the film on 2 high-definition 1080p Blu-ray discs. Original lossless stereo, so you actually get the original stereo mix, which is awesome. And 4-channel mixes, plus DTS HD MA 5.1 surround sound option on both cuts. Optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing on both cuts. 6 collector's postcards, which are a limited edition exclusive. Double-sided fold-out poster, which is a limited edition exclusive. Reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork, also a limited edition exclusive. And an 80-page limited edition collector's booklet featuring new writing on the film by Omar Ahmed, Christopher Griffiths, and Henry Blythe. A 1987 Fangoria interview with Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin designed the Robocop suit, by the way. If that name is familiar, he also did most of the creature effects for The Thing, with a very hearty assist from Stan Winston. And archived publicity materials, including some contents which are exclusive to the limited edition. So yeah, in this case, it sounds like all the disc-based contents are the same as what you would get on the standard edition, but it's really just, once again, the physical stuff that's included, the book and the poster and the postcards and whatnot. Okay, on disc 1, the director's cut, we have archive commentary by director Paul Verhoeven, executive producer John Davison, and co-writer Ed Neumeyer, originally recorded for the theatrical cut and re-edited in 2014 for the director's cut. New commentary by film historian Paul M. Salmon, new commentary by fans Christopher Griffiths, Gary Smart, and Eastwood Allen. The Future of Law Enforcement, Creating Robocop, a newly filmed interview with co-writer Michael Miner. RoboTalk, a newly filmed conversation between co-writer Ed Neumeyer and filmmakers David Burke, writer of Elle, and Nicholas McCarthy, director of Orion Pictures' The Prodigy. Truth of Character, a newly filmed interview with star Nancy Allen on her role as Lewis. Casting Old Detroit, a newly filmed interview with casting director Julie Seltzer on how the film's ensemble cast was assembled. Connecting the Shots, a newly filmed interview with second unit director and frequent Verhoeven collaborator Mark Goldblatt. Analog, a new feature focusing on the special photographic effects, including new interviews with Peter Curran and Kevin Kuchaver, something like that. More Man the Machine, Composing Robocop, a new tribute to composer Basil Poledouris, featuring film music experts Jeff Bond, Lucas Kendall, Daniel Schweiger, and Robert Townsend. Yeah, like I said, I have the soundtrack on vinyl, and I listened to that so many freaking times growing up. I just love the score in this film. Roboprops, a newly filmed tour of superfan Julian Dumont's collection of original props and memorabilia. 2012 Q&A with the filmmakers, a panel discussion featuring Verhoeven, Davison, Neumeyer, Miner, Allen, star Peter Weller, and animator Phil Tippett. Robocop, Creating a Legend, Villains of Old Detroit, Special Effects Then and Now, 3 archive featurettes from 2007 featuring interviews with cast and crew. Yeah, those are on the 2013 release as well. Paul Verhoeven Easter egg. So there's an Easter egg in there somewhere. No idea where it is, don't ask me. 4 deleted scenes. The Boardroom storyboard with commentary by Phil Tippett. Oh, that's pretty cool. Director's cut production footage, raw dailies from the filming of the unrated gore scenes. 2 theatrical trailers and 3 TV spots and extensive image galleries. That's just disc 1. Disc 2 is the theatrical cut. And on that, we have archive commentary by director Paul Verhoeven, executive producer John Davison, and co-writer Ed Neumeyer, originally recorded for the theatrical version of the film. 2 isolated score tracks, composer's original score and final theatrical mix. Oh, that's pretty cool. Here it is. Like I said, I was hoping they include this, and sure enough they did. Edited for television version of the film. Yes! Oh my god, I'm going to be watching that really soon. Featuring alternate dubs, takes, and edits of several scenes, which is 95 minutes long, SD format only. Split-screen comparisons between the director's cut and theatrical cut, and the theatrical cut and edited for TV version. Oh my god, that's brilliant. That's going to be so much fun. And finally, Robocop Edited for Television, a compilation of alternate scenes from 2 edited for television versions, including outtakes newly transferred in HD from recently unearthed 35mm elements. Wow. Yeah, that is a pretty freaking loaded set. I mean, that is absolutely amazing how much stuff is in there. In terms of extras, this absolutely puts the old Criterion DVD to shame. Needless to say. So, having got such a wonderfully deluxe edition of the original Robocop, I thought it was long past time to upgrade the sequels as well. So, in 2017, 2 years prior to the Arrow release of the first one, Scream Factory actually put out collector's editions of Robocop 2 and Robocop 3. We'll look at Robocop 3 in just a moment here. Sadly, because I was a little late to the party, only by about 3 years, I missed out on the slipcover for Robocop 2. But that's okay. I'll show you the alternate artwork in just a moment here. So there we go. Nice to finally have some extras for the sequels. Yeah, because the old trilogy set was, of course, bare bones. So we crack it open here. There we go. So we have disc art that's based on one of the original theatrical posters. There was a couple different posters for this, but this is the one they decided to go with. There we go. Very nice. He's back to protect the innocent. Well, that's, really exciting tagline there, guys. Anyway. So, honestly, in this, usually I go with the theatrical poster, but I honestly think this is way better artwork than what the original theatrical poster was. The original poster was, it was okay, but it was just kind of boring. Especially compared to the comparatively dynamic poster for the first one. I mean, the poster for the first one is literally just him standing there with his foot outside the car, but just with the lighting and the angle and I don't know, there's just something about it that just really works. And it seems like they tried to sort of recreate that a bit with this poster, but it's just not the same. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't speak to me like the other one did. Anyway, what do we got for extras on here? So special features, we have a new 2K scan of the interpositive. So this is actually another transfer yet again that is different from the one on the old MGM set. A new audio commentary with author and CG supervisor Paul M. Salmon. New Corporate Wars, the making of Robocop 2. New Machine Wars, the effects of Robocop 2. New Robo Fabricator. New OCP Declassified. Theatrical trailer, teaser trailers, TV spot, and still gallery. So there you go. So quite a lot of goodies on there. Finally, the sequel getting some stuff. Next, we have Robocop 3. So the grand conclusion of the trilogy that most people didn't seem to like. Yeah, this is the one where they inexplicably decided to go PG instead of R, even though the first two were very much hard R movies. But yeah, let's do the third one as a PG movie so you can bring the kids. Or sorry, PG-13 actually. Well, yeah, anyway. Basically just watering it down into oblivion. So, we take a look at the slipcover here. I like to think this was kind of the beginning of the trend of turning R-rated franchises into PG-13 franchises to get more people into the theater. It's like, yeah. Anyway, this is the poster for Robocop 3. Not bad. Well, actually, no, it is kind of bad. It's literally a Photoshop. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. The others are well, I don't think the second one's a photo, but this one, this just seems so lazy to me. Out of focus background and just, like, clumsily composited Robocop on there. Like, wow. Wow. You just didn't care anymore. So, we go inside. We have another shot of Robocop. There we go. Yeah, I essentially got this for completion's sake. Here, you can just stare at that while I go over the extras. Actually, you know what? I won't torment you. Look at this. This artwork's way better. All right. So what do we have here? We got new audio commentary with director Fred Decker. New Delta City Shuffle, the making of Robocop 3, featuring Fred Decker, actress Nancy Allen, and more. New, Robovision, the effects of Robocop 3 featuring Peter Curran, Phil Tippett, and more. New, The Corporate Ladder, interview with actor Felton Perry. New, Training Otomo. New, War Machine, theatrical trailer, and still gallery. And there we go. Very nice, very nice. So, I don't know, I actually haven't seen Robocop 3 since it was in theaters. But I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I'm expecting I'll probably not like it as much as the other two as well. It seems to me with each subsequent version of Robocop, they strayed farther and farther away from what made the original so great, which was, of course, not just the ultra-violence, but also the biting social satire and social commentary. It was great stuff. And you had this wonderful little story about resurrection and redemption, and it's kind of a Frankenstein kind of thing, where he was dead, but they brought him back to life, and then he was trying to figure out who he was and what he was and where he fit into this world. But then, you know, all of that's kind of figured out by the end of the first movie, so where do you go from there? Well, I guess we turn him into a superhero. Yeah, so anyway, or you can turn him into a cartoon. Because, you know, kids love Saturday morning cartoons based on R-rated movies. The 80s. So, yes, Marvel Productions, the same people who did, like, Transformers and G.I. Joe and Gem and just countless cartoons throughout the 80s, got the rights to do a Robocop animated series. So this is actually from 1988. So it was before the second movie came out. So this is based solely on the first movie. And honestly, I always felt like, as far as being a cartoon version, they got the tone of it pretty bang on. It's actually not a bad cartoon. It has the right kind of edge to it, but obviously with everything severely watered down for Saturday mornings. But in terms of like the sci-fi aspects of it and some of the satirical aspects of it, it's not a bad cartoon. So they did 12 episodes of this. Normally in the 80s they would have done 13, and they had a budget for 13, but they took the budget for the 13th episode of Robocop and used it for a little thing called X-Men. Yeah, you might have heard of them. Yeah, so the same year they made the 12 episodes of Robocop, they took the budget for episode 13 and made a pilot episode for the X-Men, because they've been trying to do an X-Men animated series for a while, and this was kind of their opportunity to give it a shot. So they did the pilot. It was called Pride of the X-Men. It was never shown. It was just released straight to video. It wasn't picked up as a series. It wasn't until the 90s that the X-Men actually got a series. But yeah, kind of an interesting story. Like, if you're ever wondering why Robocop only had 12 episodes, well, that's why. Now, another strange thing here, there's only 12 episodes, but for whatever reason, they only put 8 of them on this set. And it's a 2-disc set. You couldn't fit 6 episodes on each disc? Like, come on. Anyway, I don't know why they didn't include the whole series on there. There was another release that had all 12 episodes, but yeah, it's long out of print and prohibitively expensive. So, hey, 8 is better than none. And you probably noticed the ratings triangles there. It is a UK release. It's actually a Region 2 set. Why did they rate it PG? Parental guidance. General viewing, but some scenes may be unsuitable for young children. Well, okay. Anyway. Yeah, but I thought this was a pretty decent animated series. There was a second animated series that came out a number of years later called Robocop Alpha Commando, and that one ran for 40 episodes. It was a single season of 40 episodes, but meant for daily syndication. That one, he was a little bit more of a superhero, but still, it had some pretty cool sci-fi elements that still kind of maintained the flavor of the original concept. Sadly, that one's never had a DVD release, so I don't have any of those on DVD, but you can find them on YouTube. So shortly after the third movie, we got a TV series. Yes, an actual live-action Robocop TV series. I can't tell you how overjoyed I was to find out we were getting a Robocop TV series, and in live action, no less. I was like, what? You have to understand, the 80s and 90s, there was a huge divide between theatrical and TV world in terms of budget and production value. So the whole idea that we were getting a live-action Robocop in 1994 was just mind-blowing to me. I thought, what? they can do like a whole series of Robocop now? We've progressed that far as a society? Apparently. Anyway, this was kind of a watered down version of Robocop. It was intended kind of for family viewing, so they turned it into like a sci-fi adventure series. But again, that said, I really like this. They incorporate like some cyberpunk elements to it. It doesn't have the ultra violence of the first two movies or even the third movie, but what it does have is lots of cool sci-fi, and they get back to the social satire. So it's a little commercial parodies. There's a character named Commander Cash who's kind of, representative of corporate America and whatnot. And yeah, it's just fun. Like if you like that world and you don't mind the fact that it's been watered down a little bit, it's actually quite good. And the cast was quite good in it as well. Richard Eden plays Robocop in this, and you have a lot of notable Canadian actors as Officer Lewis and the other cops. And yeah, it's just a really good show. I liked it a lot. So when I saw that they put out a DVD set of it, I just had to snap it up. I actually did have a laser disc of the pilot movie for this, but they never released anything beyond the pilot movie on Laserdisc. Part man, part machine, pile of discs. Oh, I forgot. It's one of these sets with this weird ass. There's no actual hub. They just kind of go in this weird clip. Yeah, so here, let me just take these out so you can see. Yeah, it's actually not hard to get them out. I don't like that. They don't feel very secure. So, what? Wait a minute. So, part man. Part machine. What? Well, don't leave me hanging. Where's the all cop? Ugh. That's the whole reason I took the discs out. I thought it was going to say all cop underneath. Ugh. But apparently not. Anyway. Okay, now I got to figure out how to put these all back in. I think, yeah, there's a bit of a trick to it. There we go. So, that's 6. So it's 22 episodes on 6 discs. And the first episode is actually a 2-hour pilot. So I guess it's the equivalent of 23 episodes. Let me just see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, so it's the equivalent of 23 episodes, which is quite nice. So, and it only lasted that one season, sadly. But yeah, I enjoyed it for as little time as it lasted. And there we go. Even here, part man, part machine, the complete series. What? Don't do this to me. So, last but most certainly not least, one more adventure into television land for Robocop, this time appearing on Canadian sort of specialty television, which meant they could crank up the violence and darkness a little bit more, and we got the 4-part epic television miniseries event, Robocop Prime Directives. Yeah, so there was 4 feature-length movies, of which this was the first, Dark Justice. I kind of got the impression this was like a backdoor pilot, but it didn't go beyond these 4 movies. I remember Tech War by William Shatner started the same way. They did 4 TV movies, and they were successful enough they got the green light to do a series, which didn't even make it through a full season, but hey, whatever. Anyway, so this is the first one. Not much to write home about in terms of disc art, but what the hey. And, yeah, I'm going to show these to you in the order you're supposed to watch them, because none of the DVDs are actually numbered. So we start with Dark Justice, and then we go to Meltdown. This is the second one. And there we go. Last I checked, these were pretty widely available. I actually picked these up pretty recently. There's a couple of different releases. As near as I can tell, there's no difference to them other than the disc art or lack thereof on the discs. So, and anamorphic widescreen too. So it's the first widescreen Robocop TV series. Then we have Robocop Resurrection, which is part 3. Very nice. Wow. Did they ever skimp on the disc art there? That almost looks like a bootleg. Is that... It's not a boot... No, it's not. That is an actual pressed disc. This is an official licensed release, and that's the disc art, or lack thereof, that they went with. Wow, I had forgotten about that one, actually. I was not expecting that to be quite so lame. Anyway, how about the last one? So this is the last one. We have Crash and Burn. This is the epic conclusion to Prime Directives. And there we go. Yeah, so we're still not quite up to the level of violence of the movie. Yeah, see, now this has actually pretty decent disc art on it. So it looks like parts 2 and 3, I guess I got a slightly different release, which had better disc art, and then the other 2 I got maybe a re-release or something. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, just glad to have them. And that is it! Oh, wait. No, it isn't. So I guess we should briefly mention the one that basically killed the franchise when it was supposed to be rebooting it. We have the 2014 remake of Robocop. Yeah, I had some issues with this. Well, I'll do a full review of this movie at some point, but there were some aspects of it I liked. Like, I liked Samuel L. Jackson's sort of trash TV talk show host, and, you know, I liked some of the effects. I liked that we actually got to see Ed 209 doing some urban pacification, which was only mentioned in the original movie. So, you know, that's cool. But I had a lot of issues with some of the other directions they went with this movie. But as I say, I'll do a full review at some point. Meanwhile, we'll just take a look at the Blu-ray. So this is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, digital copy code as well. Good old ultraviolet. Yeah, that'll be useful. Yeah. One of many reasons I don't put much faith in digital copies, because, well, they can take them away from you at any time. So, well, I guess unless it's one that you download and is DRM free, then you can have it forever. So anyway, here's the DVD. Here's the Blu-ray. Here's the official game that's free to play on your phone or tablet. Great. Phone game. I remember the original Robocop had frickin' stand-up arcade games, home console games. Like, they just went all out. There's so many games. There was Robocop versus Terminator. There's just, like, so many games for the original Robocop. And some of them were really good. But, yeah. Now we get a frickin' mobile game. Great. Good job, guys. By the way, forgot to mention with these, there's no extras with Prime Directives. There's got English and Spanish subtitles. Awesome. This one says a trailer, but I'm not sure if it's a trailer for this or something else. This one has nothing. The other two have trailers. So Resurrection and Crash and Burn have trailers, which I'm guessing are for other Lionsgate DVDs. So, yeah, anyway. Let's take a look at the whole works here, shall we? Ugh. And there you have it. That's my entire Robocop DVD and Blu-ray collection. Quite a lot of cyborg justice goodness there. Yeah, that was a long one. Well, hope you enjoyed. I'm probably going to do lots more videos about Robocop at some point. I'd really like to review the movies. I'd especially like to do a big video about the first one, because it really is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies, and kind of special to me, as I mentioned in the intro there as well. And, yeah, and if we do that, we'll probably do the sequels, probably do the shows, and, you know, whatever. Anyway, enjoy that whenever and if ever I get around to doing it. And there you go. Quite a lot of stuff. I think this is the longest closer look we've done for a while. Hope you enjoyed. So, if you would like to get any of the items that I've shown in this video for your own collections, I will, of course, include Amazon links in the description down below. Big thanks to those of you who use my Amazon links, because it does help to support the show. I get a little bit of a kickback every time you buy something through those links, and it doesn't cost you any extra. So you're supporting the show while you shop, and I really appreciate that. Alrighty, well, that is it from me to you for now. So big thanks to you for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day. And I will see you next time. Until then, sayonara.